My wife rejected my advances 30 times this month, saying, "You just don't do it for me. Maybe if you were actually attractive, I'd consider it," she added. "Stop being so thirsty all the time," so I rejected the marriage. Hey folks, before we jump into the video, I need your support by subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep up the awesome content. You listening and sharing is greatly appreciated. Let's keep this channel growing. Thanks. So much for those who want the summary, but honestly, you're going to want to read the whole thing. Background about me: 36 male, work in commercial sales for a large industrial equipment company here in Dallas. Started from absolute nothing. Grew up in a trailer park with a single mom who worked 3 jobs just to keep food on the table. Never knew my dad wore hand down clothes to school and got made fun of constantly for being poor. This background is important. It explains why I worked so incredibly hard to build the life I have now, and why what happened hurt so much. Growing up poor teaches you things that people from middle-class families never understand. It teaches you that money doesn't just appear, someone has to earn it. It teaches you to appreciate what you have because you remember having nothing. Most importantly, it teaches you that financial security isn't guaranteed, so you better work your tail off to achieve it. I put myself through college, working nights at a warehouse. Graduated with a business degree and $40 in student loans. Started in sales, making $35,000 base plus commission. Lived in a studio apartment. Drove a beat-up Honda Civic. Ate peanut butter sandwiches for lunch every day. But I was determined to never pour again. The thing about sales is that if you're good at it and willing to work harder than everyone else, you can make serious money. I was both. I spent my evenings studying our products, learning about our competitors, building relationships with clients, while other guys my age were out partying. I was working. 5 years in, I was making $85. 7 years in, I hit 6 figures at 29. I got promoted to senior account manager, handling our biggest industrial clients. That's when I started pulling in $130,000, then $150,000, and now I'm at $165,000. Base plus bonuses that can add another $25 to $30. I bought my first house, 28, nothing fancy, just a 3-bedroom ranch in a decent DHO neighborhood for $185,000. Fixed it up myself on weekends. Learned to do electrical work, plumbing, tiling, turned it into something really nice and sold it 2 years later for $240. That's when I met Sarah. I was 31, she was 26. Met her at a company barbecue. She was the sister of one of my coworkers' girlfriends. Absolutely gorgeous, long blonde hair, perfect smile. The kind of woman who turns heads when she walks into a room. She was working part-time at some boutique clothing store, living with 2 roommates in a cramped apartment. Looking back, I should have paid attention to certain things during our dating phase, like how she never offered to pay for anything ever. Not coffee, not lunch, not gas. When we drove somewhere, she'd do this thing where she'd forget her wallet or suddenly need to use the bathroom. When the check came, I didn't mind at first because I was making good money and she was struggling on retail wages. I thought I was being a gentleman. What I didn't realize was that she was testing me, seeing how much she could get him to spend, how much I was willing to provide. She also had this habit of constantly mentioning expensive things. Her friends had Jessica's boyfriend bought her this amazing necklace for their anniversary. Claire's dating this doctor who takes her to the nicest restaurants. Madison's guy surprised her with a weekend trip to Napa Valley, always delivered with a little hint of disappointment that I wasn't doing the same things, but she was sweet and affectionate and seemed to genuinely care about me. She'd listen to me talk about work, ask about my day, make me feel like I was important to someone after years of focusing only on my career. Having someone beautiful and loving in me life felt amazing. We dated for 2 years. During that time, my career really took off. I landed 3 major accounts that boosted my income significantly. Bought a new truck, a Ford F-150 that I'd wanted since I was a kid. Growing up poor, started looking at bigger houses. That's when Sarah began hinting about marry a gent thing. Direct at first, just comments about how nice it would be to have a real home together, how she was tired of living like a college student with roommates, how her biological clock was ticking and she wanted to start a family. I was ready. I loved her. I was financially stable and I wanted to build a life with someone, so I proposed. The engagement ring was $8. $500. She picked it out herself, spent 3 horse at the jewelry store, examining different options before settling on a 1.2 carat solitaire that wasn't too whole. Flashy butt showed that her man had good taste. I put it on my credit card and paid it off over 6 months planning the wedding. Was me first real glimpse into who Sarah really was underneath the sweet, loving exterior. She wanted everything to be perfect. The venue she chose cost $12. Just for the reception hall. The flowers were $3,200. Her dress was $2,800. The photographer was $4,500. Every single vendor was the most expensive option because this is our special day and we only get one wedding win. One suggested maybe we could find some less expensive alternatives. She'd get upset and ask if I didn't think she was worth it, if I didn't want our wedding to be beautiful, if I was going to be cheap about the most important day off our lives. Total cost $28. I paid for every penny of it, but I thought it was worth it because I was marrying the woman I loved and we were going to build an amazing life together. I didn't know was that the wedding was just the beginning of her spending spree. Sarah quit her job exactly 2 weeks after our wedding. Didn't discuss it with me first. Just came home one day and announced she'd given her notice. I want to focus on making our house a real home, she said. Maybe start a blog about interior decorating or cooking, build something meaningful instead of just working retail for someone else. It sounded reasonable. She'd been complaining about her job for months, saying her manager was terrible and the pay was garbage. I was making enough to support both of us, and the idea of coming home to a wife who could focus on domestic things sounded appealing. The house we bought cost $420. It was definitely stretching my budget, but Sarah insisted we needed something appropriate for entertaining and in a good neighborhood where we could raise children. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, nice kitchen, decent backyard. Monthly payment was $2. $100 including insurance and taxes. The blog lasted exactly 3 weeks. She set up a WordPress site, wrote 4 posts about creating her dream living space on any budget. Ironic, considering our budget was apparently unlimited, and then just stopped when I asked about it. She said she needed to find her authentic voice and wasn't ready to put herself out there. Yet instead, her daily routine became something like this. 8 a.m. I wake up, shower, get dressed for work, make coffee. 8:30 a.m. I leave for work. Sarah has still asleep. 10 a.m. Sarah wakes up, spends an hour on her phone. In bed. 11 a.m. Sarah gets up, maybe showers, definitely spends 45 minutes on makeup. 12 o'clock p.m. Sarah goes to yoga class. $149 a month membership. 1:30 p.m. Sarah meets friends for lunch, always somewhere expensive. 3 p.m. Sarah goes shopping. It's browsing but always buys something. 5 p.m. Sarah comes home, changes into pajamas, turns on Netflix. 6:30 p.m. I come home to a messy house and no dinner. This went on for months. Every day I'd come home hoping maybe she'd cooked something or cleaned up or done literally anything productive. Instead, I'd find her on the couch with takeout containers from lunch, watching reality TV shows, complaining about being bored. The spending was out of control. Our credit card statements were insane. $340 at Target for household stuff, mostly candles and decorative pillows. $275 at Sephora because my foundation shade changed. $180 at Lululemon for yoga clothes every single week. When I gently suggest that maybe we should create a budget, she'd get defensive. I'm not spending that much. These are necessary expenses. You make plenty of money. Don't you want me to feel good about myself? The most frustrating part was that she acted like her spending was somehow contributing to our household, like buying decorative villas was the same as me working 50 hours a week to pay for those pillows. But the financial stuff wasn't even the worst. The worst part was how our relationship started. Changing. Physical affection became rare. She'd pull away when I tried to hug her. Kisses became quick pecks on the cheek. She'd find excuses to go to bed early or stay up late, so we wouldn't be in bed at the same time when I'd try to talk to her about anything serious, our finances or future plans. Having kids, she'd say she was too stressed or not in the mood for heavy conversations, but she was never too stressed to spend 2 hours on the phone with her sister. Complaining of though unfulfilled, she felt never too tired to go out with friends, never too busy to scroll through social media for hours. I started Feeling like a stranger in my own home, like I was just the guy who paid for everything while she lived her best life. The intimacy issues started getting really bad around our first anniversary. That's when the rejections began, I'm not going to lie. The complete lack of physical intimacy was killing Minat, just the sex, although that was part of it. I'm talking about basic affection, hand-holding, cuddling on the couch, kisses thought. Lasted longer than 2 seconds. All of it just disappeared at first. I thought it was temporary, new marriage adjustment, stress from the life changes, whatever, but weeks turned into months in every attempt I made to reconnect physically was met with rejection. The excuses were creative. I'll give her that I'm too red from yoga class. I just showered and don't want to get sweaty, I think. I'm getting a cold. I have a headache from shopping today. The neighbors might hear us. I just ate and feel bloated. I need to wake up. Early tomorrow, I'm stressed about what to make for dinner. She never made dinner. I'm not feeling confident about my body, right? Now, can we just cuddle instead? But then she'd fall asleep. Immediately after about the 15th rejection in a row, I started wondering if I was losing my mind. Was it really happening this often, or was I just being oversensitive? So I downloaded a habit tracking app on my phone, the kind people use to track water intake or exercise. I created a category. It's called Intimacy Attempts, and started marking down every rejection. It felt weird. In clinical doing it, but I needed to know if I was screwsy or if this was actually as bad as it seemed. The results were devastating. 31 attempts in 31 days. 30 rejections, but tracking the rejections made me notice other patterns too, like how she'd reject any physical affection from me, but then spend hours texting her friends about relationship advice for their problems. Or how she'd say she was too tired for intimacy, but then stay up until 2 a.m. watching Netflix. I also started paying attention to how she treated me in public at dinner parties with friends. She'd openly mock me. Jake is always trying to get me to cook dinner, but I keep telling him that's what takeout is for. Big laugh from everyone. Jake thinks I should get a job, but why? Would I doth it when he makes so much money? Another laugh. She'd talk about me like I was some controlling, old-fashioned husband for expecting basic partnership in our marriage, and I'd just sit there like an idiot because what was I supposed to? Offend myself and look like the unreasonable one. Her friends were all the same type. Women who'd married successful men and then quit working to live off their husbands' income. They'd sit around comparing their husbands' salaries, complaining about how demanding their men were for expecting home-cooked meals or physical affection. Men just didn't understand that we have our own needs too, Sarah would say, while spending my money on a $45 lunch.
Ow.
They think just because they work, we should be available for whatever they want, whenever they want it. The irony was incredible. I was working my tail off to support her lifestyle, and somehow I was the selfish one for wanting my wife to act like she actually liked me. The breaking point came on a Saturday morning in late September. We'd been married for 8 months, and I was documenting rejection number 31. Saturday, September 23rd. I remember a date exactly because it was the day I stopped being a doormat and started taking control of my life. Our twins. Dee Dee mentioned we have kids. Sarah got pregnant 3 months after the wedding. Boy and girl now 7 years old. We're spending weekend at my mom's house. First time we'd had the house to ourselves in weeks. I woke up around 7:30, made coffee, brought Sarah a cup in bed. She was already awake, scrolling through Instagram, probably looking at all the amazing lives her friends were posting about. I was genuinely trying to be romantic. Not just looking for sex, but wanting to reconnect with my wife. I sat on the edge of the bed, started being affectionate, telling her how beautiful she looked in the morning light, without even looking up from her phone. Seriously. It's barely 8 a.m. I haven't even finished my coffee yet. I brought you coffee 10 minutes ago. I said, well, I haven't finished it. God, you're so pushy for wanting affection from my wife on a Saturday morning when we finally had privacy. When was the last time we were intimate? I asked. She rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might disappear into her skull. I don't know, Jake. I don't keep a calendar of that stuff like some kind of maniac. It's been over a month. So marriage isn't just about sex. Maybe if you helped around the house more instead of just working all the time, I'd be in the mood more often. He looked around our bedroom. Her clothes were scattered everywhere. Makeup covered the dresser. Coffee cups from 3 days ago sat on her nightstand. The help around the house comment was rich, coming from someone who treated Our home like a hotel with maid service. What exactly do you do all day? I asked. Wrong question, sat up suddenly alert and angry. Excuse me, I manage. This household, I take care of the kids, I maintain our social life just because I don't bring home. A paycheck doesn't mean I don't contribute it. The kids are at school 8 hours a day. The house is always a mess. We haven't had people over in months. What are you actually managing? I am not going to be interrogated in my own bedroom by someone who clearly doesn't appreciate what I do for this family. My bedroom in the house that I paid for with money that I earned. That's when something fundamental shifted in my brain. You're right, I said, standing up. I clearly don't appreciate what you do. Maybe we should have an honest conversation about what each of us actually brings to this marriage. She got that smug expression she always wore when she thought she'd won an argument finally. Yes, let's talk about that. She had absolutely no idea what was coming. I went downstairs and got my laptop pulled up, our bank statements, credit card bills, and yes. The tracking app came back and sat in the chair across from our bed, okay? I sat up panning my laptop. Let's start with financial contributions. Her smug expression started to fade. This year I've earned $192,000. Including bonuses, your financial contribution to our household has been $0. Money isn't everything. I'm not finished this year. Your personal expenses have a totaled $52. 0. That's more than the median household income in America. It's more than I'm dying my first job out of college. She was getting uncomfortable now, shifting around in bed. Let's talk. About household management, I do the grocery shopping every Sunday. Morning, I handle all the bills, insurance, taxes, and home maintenance. I do the laundry. Every weekend, because otherwise we'd have no clean clothes, I clean the bathroom space. You think scrubbing toilets is gross? Take care of the kids. The kids are at school until 3:30. Pick them up, bring them home, and put on cartoons. While you scroll through your phone, I help with homework when I get home at 6:30. I make their lunches for the next day. I handle doctor appointments, parent-teacher conferences, and birthday parties. Becco's, you're always too busy or not feeling well. Her face was pale. Now let's discuss our social life that you claim to maintain. I just checked our calendar. Every dinner reservation, every family activity, every date night has been planned and paid for by me. The last thing you planned was your sister's birthday dinner, which I also paid for. I opened the habit tracker app and turned the screen toward her, and now let's talk. About intimacy. 31 days, 30 rejections, not just sex. Any physical affection? You've rejected every attempt I've made to connect with you as your husband Hermoth was hanging open, so help me understand. Sarah, you contribute no income, minimal housework, and 0 physical affection. You spend over $4. 0 a month on personal expenses. You mock main, public, and treat me like an inconvenience in private. What exactly do you bring to this marriage beside a contempt for the man who funds your entire lifestyle? That's when the real Sarah finally revealed. Her self-the transformation was immediate and shocking. Gone was any pretense of being a loving wife. Having a bad day, what emerged was someone I barely recognized. You know what? Screw you, Jake. You act like you're so perfect, but you're just a boring salesman who thinks money entitles him to sex whenever he wants. Here it was. 3 years of marriage, and she thought of me as nothing more than a boring salesman. This is what I get for marrying someone so average. Jessica's husband owns 3 restaurants. Claire married a surgeon. Madison's boyfriend is in real estate and just bought her a BMW. What am I supposed to tell people when they ask what my husband does? Oh, he sells industrial equipment and expects me to be grateful. I actually started lying, not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd average. I make more than 90% of people in this country. I bought you a house, a car, and everything you own, I've given you Alafest style. Most people can only dream of, but I'm average because I'm not a surgeon. It's not about the money, it's completely about the money. You married me because I could fund your lifestyle, but now that lifestyle isn't impressive enough for your friends. So you withhold affection like some kind of punishment. She was getting desperate now, realizing she revealed too much that's not. I don't look. All marriages go through rough patches. We can work on this. Work on what your complete lack of respect. For me, your resentment of the life I've provided, your belief that I should be grateful to support a grown woman who contributes nothing. I closed the laptop and stood up. I'm done working on this. I'm done being treated like a paycheck with legs. I'm done living with someone who sees me as beneath her. I'm filing for Divorce, the look of absolute panic that crossed her face, was almost worth. 3 years of misery. You can't be serious, she whispered. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. What happened next was a masterclass in manipulation tactics. She cycled through every strategy in the book. First came the tears, real ones streaming down her face. Please don't do this. I love you. I know I haven't been the best wife, but I can change. People make mistakes. When after 3 years of taking me for granted, after treating me like garbage in front of our friends, after 30 straight rejections, after telling me I'm too average for you, then came the bargaining. What if I got a job? What if I started contributing finally? What if I took over more of the housework? What job? Sarah, you haven't worked in 3 years. You have no recent experience, no professional network, no marketable skills. You'd be lucky to make $15 an hour, and we both know you think that's beneath you. I could see her doing the math in her head. Without my income, she'd have to completely change her lifestyle. No more yoga classes, no more shopping sprees, no more daily lunch dates with friends. We have children together. You can't just abandon your family over some marital problems. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm leaving a wife who treats me with contempt. The kids will be better off seeing their father with someone who actually respects him instead of watching their mother tear him down every day. That's when she threatened me. If you divorce me, so I'll take you for everything: the house, half your income, child support. You'll end up broke. Not alone. I smiled for the first time in months. Actually, I've been talking to a lawyer for the past 6 weeks. Texas is a community property state, but it also allows for unequal division. When one spouse has abandoned their maritalities, I've got 3 years of documented financial irresponsibility, emotional neglect, and failure to contribute to the household. Her face went completely white. More importantly, I've been putting money into a separate account for months' income from consulting work you didn't know about because you never bothered asking about my life. I've been working evenings and weekends on side projects while you watch Netflix, side projects, freelance sales consulting. I've got clients who pay me $150 an hour to help them improve their sales processes, things I did at night and on weekends while you were spending my money and complaining about being bored. She was starting to realize this wasn't an emotional outburst. This was planned. I've accumulated every expense, every rejection, every time you've disparaged me in public. My lawyer says it's one of the strongest cases he's seen for limiting alimony. The desperation was setting in now. Wait, let's think about this rationally. What if I started being more affectionate? What if I got a real job? What if I started cooking and cleaning like you? Wouldn't you mean, what if you started being a wife instead of a parasite? Too late, Sarah. You've had 3 years to figure that out. Please don't do this. I'll do anything you want. Till sign. Whatever papers you want, I'll agree to any arrangement. There's nothing you can do. You've shown me exactly who you are, and I finally believe you. I started walking toward the door. The papers will be filed Monday morning. I'd suggest you start figuring out what you're going to do with your life, because the free ride is officially over. As I left, I heard her screaming, "Abutho, I'd regret this. How no one would ever want me. How I was nothing without her, nothing without her." The woman who hadn't contributed a single dollar to our household in 3 years was telling me I was nothing without her. That's when I knew I was making the right decision. The next few months were like watching a nature documentary about a predatorlessing. Its food source. Sarah's entire existence had been built around my income, and without it, everything started collapsing immediately. First, she tried to hire some aggressive divorce attorney who promised to make me pay for abandoning my family. That lasted exactly 1 consultation when they realized she had no case for the lifestyle she expected to maintain. The lawyer told her the truth. Texas courts don't award permanent alimony to able-bodied adults voluntarily. Quit working. She might get temporary spousal support for a year or 2, but nothing like the 4-0 plus monthly spending she was accustomed to. Then came the family pressure campaign. Her mother called me crying about how I was destroying the family over some temporary problems. Her sisters sent long text messages about what a huge mistake I was making. The best part, her friends started dropping her almost immediately. Turns out when you can't afford to go to expensive lunches and shopping trips anymore, those friendships evaporate really quickly. Sarah had to get a job after 3 years of being too good for retail work. She ended up at Target making $14 an hour part-time. The same store where she used to spend $300 in a single shopping trip, she lasted 6 weeks, before getting fired for showing up late constantly and calling in sick. Whenever she felt stressed next, job was at a call center for $13. An hour sitting in a cubicle taking customer service calls for 8 hours a day, the woman who used to mock my boring sales. Job was narrating scripts to angry customers about their Kelly bills. She had to move out of our house, which I kept because I could afford the payments alone, into a crummy apartment with a 22-year-old roommate who didn't appreciate Sarah's mature lifestyle needs. No more daily yoga classes, no more Starbucks. Runs no more a Desner. Anything. She went from spending $50, $0 a year on personal expenses, to making $22,000 a year before taxes. But here's where it gets really good. About 4 months after our divorce was finalized, I started dating again. Joined a few apps, met some nice women. Nothing serious at first then. I met Lisa. Lisa is 31, works as a nurse practitioner at a pediatric clinic, makes $98, $0 a year, owns her own townhouse, drives a car she bought and paid for herself, has her own hobbies, her own friends, her own life. Most importantly, she treats me like I'm actually worth something when I pick her up for dinner. She's ready on time and genuinely happy to see me. She offers to split the check I usually pay, but the offer means everything. She asks about my work because she's actually interested in my life. She appreciates effort instead of expecting it. Physical affection is natural. An enthusiast actually wants to be close to me. Imagine that. Dating someone who enjoys your company and shows it. Sarah found out about Lisa through mutual friends and completely lost her mind, started texting me at all hours about how I was throwing away our family for some rebound relationship, how Lisa was probably just using me for my money. The irony was unbelievable. How I'd realize what I'd lost and come crawling back. The kids were thriving with our 50/50ths custody arrangement. They actually preferred staying with me because I had a stable home, consistent rules, and wasn't constantly stressed about money. Plus, they really liked Lisa, who treated them like actual people instead of accessories to her lifestyle. Meanwhile, Sarah was spiraling hard, lost the call center job for having a bad attitude with customers, couldn't make rent on her apartment. Her roommate kicked her out for not paying her share of bills. At 32 years old, she had to move back in with her parents' house. The same people she used to mock for settling for a middle-class life and not having any ambition. That's when the real begging started.
Ow.
8 months after our divorce was finalis. I got a call from an unknown number at 9:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. It was Sarah, and she was crying harder than I'd ever heard anyone cry. "Jake, please, I need to talk to you. I'm in really big trouble. What do you want?" "Sarah, I've made some terrible mistakes. Money I don't have. I can't get approved for an apartment. I can't even get approved for a decent car loan. Microdit is completely destroyed." Turns out, after losing her jobs and having to move back home, she tried to maintain her lifestyle by racking up credit card debt, $18, $0 across 4 different cards, buying clothes and meals and spa treatments.
Ow.
She couldn't afford because she deserved to feel good about herself. Minimum payments alone were $400 a month, and she was making maybe $1,200 at her new job at a clothing store. Yes, back to retail, the job. She was too good for debt. Collectors were calling her parents' house constantly. Her credit score had dropped to 480. She couldn't qualify for anything: apartments, car loans, even a decent cell phone plan. "I made the biggest mistake of my life," she sobbed. "I didn't realize what I had with you. I didn't appreciate how good you were to me. Please, can we try again? Can we work something out?" I let her talk for a while, really listened to her desperation, her promises to change, her claims that she finally understood what she'd lost. Then I started laughing. Not me and laughter. It's just genuine amusement at the situation. You want to know something incredible? "Sarah, you're calling me from your childhood bedroom begging for help because you can't afford your own phone bill. Do you see the irony here? Please don't be cruel. I know I hurt you, but I'm trying to make it right. Cruel. I'm being honest. You spent 3 years treating me like garbage because you thought you deserved better. Now you're finding out what you actually deserve." She was sobbing harder. "Now I was wrong about everything. I was so wrong. You were an amazing husband, and I ruined it all. I was stupid and selfish and threw away the best thing in my life, you're absolutely right. I was a good husband to someone who didn't deserve it. Can you help me just this once? I'll pay you back, you swear. I just need enough to get back on my feet, help you like you helped me when I was working 60-hour weeks to pay for your lifestyle. Like you helped me feel wanted in my own home. Like you helped preserve any dignity in our marriage that's different. No, it's exactly the same. You didn't help me when I needed emotional support because you didn't think I deserved it now. I don't think you deserve my financial support. What about the kids? They need both parents to be stable. The kids have stability with me. They're happy, healthy, and they don't have to watch their mother treat their father like garbage anymore. In fact, they love spending time with Lisa and me because we actually enjoy each other's company. There was a long pause. I could hear her trying to collect herself. Jake, please, I'll do anything. I'll sign a prenup. I'll get a real career. I'll never ask you for money again. Just give me one more chance to prove I can be the wife you deserved, Sarah. Let me explain something to you. I'm with someone now who appreciates me from day one. Someone who has her own career, her own money, her own goals of my own, who treats me like a partner. Not a paycheck. I can be that person now. I've learned you've learned that actions have a consequences. That's not the same thing as becoming a decent person, so that's it. You're just going to let me suffer. I'm going to let you figure out your own life. You know, like an adult, like I had to do when you were rejecting me every night and spending my money every day. She was quiet for a moment. Then her voice changed, got harder and more bitter. You know what, fine? You think you're so much better then? Me now, you're still the same boring, average guy I married desperately. Just settling because she can't do better at her age. And there it was, even when she was begging for help. Even when her life was completely falling apart, she still couldn't resist trying to hurt me. You're right about one thing, I said calmly. I am the same guy. The same guy who worked incredibly hard to build a life you took for granted. The same guy who tried to love you despite your complete lack of respect. The same guy who finally developed enough self-respect to walk away from someone who treated him like garbage. I hate you for this. Good, that makes this easier. I hung up and blocked her number. 2 weeks later, I heard through mutual friends that she was dating some guy she met at the clothing store where she worked, some 26-year-old college dropout who lived with his parents and worked part-time at GameStop. Apparently, she was finally happy to be with someone who understood her and didn't judge her for her past mistakes. They broke up after 3 weeks when she realized he expected her to pay for their dates since she was older and more established last. I heard she was working at a different call center, living in a studio apartment in the worst part of town, and still single, still bitter, still convinced that her problems are everyone else's fault. Meanwhile, Lisa and I just bought a house together. We're splitting the mortgage 50/50ths on a beautiful 4-bedroom home in an amazing neighborhood. We cook dinner together most nights. We plan vacations together that we both contribute to. We have incredible intimacy because she actually wants to be with me. Lisa loves my kids and they adore her. They've told me multiple times how much happier I seem now, how much they like seeing me smile against me times. I drive past the Target where Sarah used to work and just smile, not because I'm vindictive, but because a justice is a beautiful thing. She thought she deserved better than me. Turned out I deserve better than her. The best revenge isn't plotting someone's downfall. It's building a life so good that their absence makes it better, not worse. Sarah taught me the most valuable lesson of my life. Self-respect isn't negotiable. Love without respect is just comfortable misery, and sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop trying to fix something that was never meant to work. I never thanked her for that lesson, but in a weird way. Those 31 rejections were the best thing that ever happened to me. They forced me to stop accepting crumbs and start demanding the full meal I deserved. Now I'm living that full meal every single day. While she's still trying to convince herself that that problem was everyone else's karma, doesn't always work quickly, but when it does, it's absolutely beautiful too.